Welcome to the Portland Culinary Podcast on Portland Culinary Radio. I'm Steven Shomler, your host. I'm so excited about today's episode. This episode is happening because of the magic of Jacob Greer. Jacob Greer is the author of the incredible book, beautiful book with great recipes, Cocktails on Tap, a beer cocktails book, and he's also a phenomenal bartender. He does a lot of really cool things in the spirits and distilling world. For example, he's the founder of Aquavit Week. We just celebrated 2019, the opening party of the 7th annual Aquavit Week here in Portland. It's since grown across the country, across the world. Germany is really running with Aquavit Week. And what that means for us is that there's a lot of amazing people with lots of really cool distilleries from across the country here in Portland. And I get to sit down and talk with some of them. I'm so excited to welcome special guest, Abigail Mlinar. Did I get that right?
You sure did.
Oh, I'm so excited you're here. Okay, so let's see if I can get the name right. You're with Vikre Distillery?
Yep.
Vikre,
yeah.
Which it looks very different. How do you spell it? Vikre. Okay,
yeah.
That doesn't look like Vikre to me, but that's cool. Okay,
Norwegian.
Norwegian, what does it mean?
It means people of the bay, actually, and cool enough, we are in the Bay of Duluth, which is on the edge of Lake Superior, and the Vikres didn't know this when they were moving there, but it has all worked out quite well.
And Duluth, I lived in Maple Grove, Minnesota for 3 years, and Duluth is near and dear to my heart. I've been there in the fall, I've been there in the spring, I've been there in summer, and I've been there in the dead of winter. Mm-hmm. I'll tell you later in the podcast why it's so near and dear to my heart, but I love me some Duluth. So awesome that you're here. Okay, so some of the basic stuff we start in all my podcasts. Where were you born?
I was born in Minneapolis, Minnesota.
Okay, so you're right there. Go Gophers, right?
Yeah, Minnesota native.
And where'd you go to high school?
I went to high school in Andover.
And what's the mascot there?
The Huskies.
The Huskies. Oh, I like that. That's good.
Oh, yes.
Okay, so we're kind of combining a little bit of Vikre's story, a little bit of your story, because I want to get to hear both. So when did Vikre open?
Vikre opened in 2014, 4 years ago.
And who are the people that make the magic happen? The founders, at least.
The founders are Emily and Joel Vikre. They're a couple. They're married.
Okay. Okay, and you've been with them about a year now, roughly.
Yep, just over.
And your tough job, you just have to travel around and, just drink. You don't really do any work, right?
Yeah, my body would disagree with that.
Yeah, my friend Brian Yeager is he's an author and a writer and a beer writer, and people tell him that all the time. And like, oh yeah, there's no work at all. But he as I work hard, he works hard. I know you work hard. Mm-hmm. So you guys are distributed in 12 states currently.
Yep, correct.
Including brand new here in Oregon.
Yeah.
So all the stuff we're talking about, people can go into their Oregon liquor store and say, please order it for me, and they will order it and bring it right in for them.
Totally.
Which I'm excited about. Okay, so you guys have a lot of different spirits. What's your favorite spirit?
My favorite spirit, well, originally was tequila. But ever since I've been familiar with Vikre Distillery, I've been so into Aquavit, and it wasn't something that I had known too much about, except for a small trip to Copenhagen a few years prior. I really fell in love with Aquavit once I met Vikre.
Are you just saying that because you work for a company that makes really good Aquavit, or do you actually like Aquavit?
I really like Aquavit. I like spirits that have a double purpose, and since Aquavit is a digestif, I feel really good about myself when I drink it.
Yeah, and I love if you. So I keep almost all of my liquor at my fiance's house. So if you go there and look in the liquor cabinet, there is a lot of Aquavit in there because I love things with. I don't like a smooth vodka where you can't taste it. That's just not my style. I like a whiskey where you can really taste it, or a really botanical gin. Or the amazing thing about Aquavit is there's a lot of flavor. And so not everybody knows about Aquavit, and I'm excited we'll drink one of them. I love spirits. I love Aquavit. Okay, and you really do actually like Aquavit?
I do. It's about that caraway, cardamom is in ours as well, and I've always been a fan of breads in general, and also rye bread. And Aquavit is kind of like a liquid rye bread. And my grandma cooks with cardamom, and ours has cardamom, so it's just like near and dear.
Okay. So you are used to cardamom flavors.
I am, yeah.
From growing up. From what was your grandma's name? Or was or is?
Is Betty.
Grandma Betty.
Grandma Betty. Really appropriate.
Okay. And now, did you just say that the Aquavit has cardamom in it?
Yeah, it's a little bit of a unique component to ours. We try to make our Aquavit reminiscent of Emily Vikre and Joel Vikre's heritage, which is Norwegian. Emily's actually a dual citizen, so she wanted it to be Norwegian-esque, but still what we go for is a terroir taste of our place in northern Minnesota, and so we have different components, which is that caraway, cardamom. There's a bit of fennel in there as well, some citrus, and peppercorn.
So this is my third year celebrating Aquavit Week with Jacob, and something hit me Sunday night. You were there at Broder Nord.
I was.
And we had a fantastic time, drank lots of good aquavits, and something hit me like, I'm an idiot. My grandma is 100% Norwegian. I'm like quarter Norwegian. I need to like get the special, outfits and everything now. My fiancés can hear this podcast and go, oh my God, he's getting another outfit. You know those cool sweaters that they were all wearing? I need one of those.
You really do. A quarter. That's a significant amount.
No wonder I love aquavit. Okay, so where did your spirits journey begin?
Ooh, my spirits journey. I was actually on this island in the middle of Lake Erie for an event. My past career was working in event production. I directed these festivals around the country that were based around very, very large sailing vessels. So
wow.
I'm hanging out at this yacht club with some sailors, and one of them ordered a caipirinha and talked me into getting one as well, and I'd never heard of it.
Cachaça. I love cachaça.
Yeah, and the cocktail was absolutely fantastic. It's still the best caipirinha I've ever had, was at that yacht club that day. And ever since then, I've just been so intrigued by what you can create with a cocktail. And then caipirinha is a very simple one, and it has so much flavor and interesting components to it. But then how complex they can get as well. I just had a cocktail last night with squid ink in it here in Portland. Quite appealing, actually.
That was about 5 years ago, roughly, that you had that spirit awakening, right?
Yeah.
The caipirinha kind of opened your world up to a whole new way of experiencing life. And so 4 years you were in the desert, and now you finally work for a distiller. How awesome is that? That's got to be a blast.
It is a blast. It really is. But the Vikres are awesome. I couldn't be a part of just any organization. I have a lot of values behind me as a person, and the company Vikre does as well. They're awesome people to work for, great company, everybody involved.
Fantastic. Okay, so I think that we should start drinking and talking about some of the amazing things you brought. I am so extremely happy. Okay, so gin. I got to give you a little. Some of my fans, some of my listeners, followers, particularly my Instagram stories, know that I have a commitment. I try to only drink gin before noon. The only spirit or alcohol I drink before noon is gin.
But do you drink it after noon as well?
Of course.
Okay, good.
Of course, but before noon, only gin before noon, and then everything else after.
It's good standard.
Yeah, sometimes I can add something in depending on where I'm at in the world. But I love particularly on the weekends. I used to have gin and orange juice. My fiance Karen, she's my girlfriend now. She's my fiance. We keep moving the ball. That's really a good thing.
Congrats.
She says, you got to try gin and grapefruit juice. And I'm like, are you out of your mind?
Snaps for her.
Oh, it was so good. So now on a Saturday morning or Sunday morning, she makes breakfast and I get to stare at her adoringly and have some fantastic gin and grapefruit juice. So I love gin. And then the other thing about gin, part of my gin journey, is a couple nights a week, I'll make the cocktails. I'll put on Frank Sinatra and then and she'll make dinner. And again, I stare at her adoringly and we just have the most magnificent time. And she has a vodka martini, which I try to forgive her for. And I have a gin martini, straight up, please wave the vermouth bottle over the gin. And then I like 3 olives, or the latest thing in honor of her brother Mike, who passed away 4 years ago. I learned recently that a couple months ago that he liked to have gin with some capers in it.
Oh my gosh. I love capers. This is amazing.
And it's an incredible, fantastic cocktail. So occasionally I switch it up. Okay, so gin is like, I love me some whiskey. I love me lots of different spirits. Love me beer, love me wine. But gin has a special place in my heart because you get all those flavors. So, and you told me that I haven't tasted these yet. I had the Aquavit Sunday night, but you said this is going to blow my mind. Is that right?
Oh, totally. Our gins are fantastic.
Okay, so these all say Boreal.
Boreal.
Boreal Juniper Gin, Boreal Spruce Gin, Boreal Cedar Gin. So I know a little bit Boreal, but where does that come from?
It comes from the boreal forest of the region that we're in. When we decided to start Vikre Distillery, it was actually Emily and Joel in Duluth visiting Emily's parents because she grew up there. And they were living on the East Coast at the time, and when they were there, they heard this story about these Swedes who started a distillery in Sweden because they had toured Scottish distilleries and thought, no, who are we kidding? We have way better water, grains, whatever in Sweden. Like, let's try our own take. And then Emily and Joel hear the story and they think, no, actually, Duluth, Minnesota has some of the best natural resources in the whole country. Lake Superior is right here. It's the best water in the country. And Duluth City Water actually has won awards for great water quality as a city. And then there's necessarily some of the best grains in the country come out of Minnesota. We make so much corn there, and botanicals are aplenty. Duluth itself is a huge wilderness town. Anyways,
I'll say so.
yeah.
But there's a forest. There's a boreal forest.
Correct, yeah. So the boreal forest of our area, and Emily wanted to create different gins that are a terroir series of our area. So it's a taste of our place, and they're all inspired by different walks and parks of Duluth. Our Juniper Gin is a classic London dry style with notes of rhubarb and pink peppercorn.
Hold on, I got to taste it. But you said it's kind of like, you said it's a walk through the...
Walk through different parks.
Different parks. So it's almost like walking through the forest. So I did a Portland beer podcast. There's a really amazing gentleman that does beer made by walking. He walks around and they find stuff and they make beer based on what they find. Okay, so this is the Juniper Gin. All right, I'm going to taste it and then start over because I want to hear what you're saying while I'm tasting it.
Yeah. So Juniper Gin, it's classic London dry style. Notes of pink peppercorn and rhubarb.
Oh, my goodness. Okay, so what do I do with this one?
This gin we like to put into cocktails. Some more classic styles like the gimlet is a really popular one for the Juniper.
Okay, I love me a gimlet when it's, about 90 degrees, here in Portland. You get a gimlet, you sit in the backyard, and it's perfect. I'm pretty opinionated about a gimlet. Do you use roses, lime juice, or fresh limes?
Well, our head bartender at the distillery, his name is Scoozy, he has trained me to only like fresh lime juice.
Okay, there's something amazing about fresh lime juice, and this I think could actually pull off fresh lime juice. The only excuse I have for using roses, lime juice, in a gimlet is that a lot of people tell me when they make a traditional Italian sauce, that they use those canned tomatoes, not fresh. So that's my only excuse for that kind of craziness. So if I ever meet Scoozy, just prep him that I have this little bit of weirdness. But this would be a fantastic gimlet. And I could just sip this. This is amazing.
Thanks. Yeah, we really try to shoot for sipping quality gins that are balanced enough to be included in cocktails. Our Juniper is also our go-to for just a straight-up tonic.
Okay. Ooh, a gin and tonic.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm a dense as can be. I love me a gin and tonic. Okay, so the spruce gin.
Spruce Gin. This we call our Christmas tree of gins because we're really going for that pine component here. We forage for spruce tips in the spring when they're new growth. A funny story, spruce tips can be either sweet or bitter, and so we taste them to make sure that we're getting the sweet ones only. And we also include lavender, sage, and rosemary in our spruce, so it's floral and piney.
So there's a couple breweries that do spruce tip beers out here, and that would be so amazing to somehow do some kind of collab. That would be phenomenal.
Totally, a Boilermaker, spruce on spruce.
Okay, so if this is really, really good, what would someone do with this one? Do they pick up a bottle of this spruce gin? What do they do with it?
The spruce is my go-to martini gin. So if you like a gin martini, I really like the spruce in that. It shines.
I want to put about 6 capers. Now, I mentioned my fiance's brother who passed away, Mike, and he liked 3 capers, but I would put 6 of those and a little bit of the caper juice in this spruce gin. Boom.
Yum.
I think that would be fantastic. Okay, how about, so cedar gin. This is, I've never even heard of such a thing.
The cedar gin is kind of a sauna gin. We actually infuse it with the smoke of charred cedar wood. First we toast it, then we flame torch it, and then we steep it in there like a tea. But before we do that, we do distill it with botanicals such as grapefruit, sumac berries, black currants, ginger root, cinnamon. It's really toasty. It's warm. It's perfect for this time of year.
Now, can you say that word again?
Sauna. This is the Duluth coming out of me.
No, that's fantastic. I love it. Okay, this would be so good with my gin and grapefruit juice.
Yes, totally. 100%. Grapefruit and cedar gin, they really shine. But Emily Vikre did design the cedar gin to be used in the Negroni. It's her favorite classic cocktail.
All right, so we keep hearing about Emily and these weird flavor combinations. There's a cool story about that. I want to hear that. Yeah,
Emily Vikre is kind of a master palate, and when she creates new flavors, it's kind of like a dream. She sees flavors, it feels like, and I've never experienced anybody who's able to create flavors the way she is.
Not only does she have the knowledge and the palate to be like, oh, this would work good together, she has the guts and the courage to go for it.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so what were some of the things that you said that you did with this, just to give an example, with this cedar gin? You said some of the flavors that you had. You said the grapefruit and the...
Grapefruit, sumac berries, black currants, ginger root, cinnamon. There's a little bit of aniseed in this. It's incredibly complex gin, really interesting. We find it's really gravitated towards by bartenders because it's so unique.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, she can think of how to put it all together, and then she has the guts to go for it and put it together.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Okay, so we're going to move on. We only have 2 left. Oh, my heart is breaking. Okay, so we've got Aquavit. Now, currently you guys have 2 Aquavits.
Correct, yeah.
You have a barrel-aged one, a Voyager Aquavit, spelled like Voyager National Park.
Yeah.
Okay, so we brought that up. What do you like better, Voyager National Park or Boundary Waters Canoe Area?
Oof, it's such a tough question.
I know it's unfair, isn't it?
I have to go with the Boundary Waters. It's just something special. But Voyager is so cool too.
It is, but we're Minnesota first. Come on now. Just kidding. Okay, so your Voyager, that's a barrel age. We don't have it here today, but I did have that Sunday night, and that was magnificent. Oh my gosh, I really, really liked it. Okay, so tell me about this. This is your...
In front of you is the Ovrevann Aquavit. That's our unaged version.
Ovrevann? Ovrevann.
Yeah.
Oh, I want to get a dog and name him Ovrevann. That's a badass name.
That would be a great dog name.
Ovrevann. Okay, tell me about this gin while I drink it. This Aquavit while I drink it.
Yeah, the Aquavit is, again, caraway and cardamom focused. We have fennel in there as well, some orange, some lemon, some peppercorn. Ovrevann means upper lake, which is a nod to Lake Superior. Again, Lake Superior water is the water we use in all of our spirits. So if there's good water in there, it's going to be a good product. And the Ovrevann Aquavit is reminiscent again of Emily's roots in Norway, and she wanted to evoke that culture through this spirit. But we say it's a lot more mellow and balanced and even feminine compared to some of the traditional Norwegian aquavits that can be a little more bold or harsh even. Our aquavit we then put into cognac casks and age it for around a year, and that makes the Voyager. And the cognac barrels is a nod to her friends and family back in Norway, because funny enough, they drink a lot more cognac than the aquavit.
What I like about, and this is Ovrevann?
Ovrevann.
Ovrevann. I'm going to have to get Ovrevann. What I love about this is, you're right, it's got tons and tons of complex flavor, but it's really soft and really approachable. That's a hard thing to do both at the same time. And I love the cardamom. That's just a fantastic addition.
Thank you.
Okay, so you've got this Hay and Sunshine, which we'll talk about in a second, because what the hell? This is like the craziest thing I've ever seen. But you make a couple different kinds of whiskeys, right?
We do, yeah. When we started Vikre Distillery, we did make whiskeys right off the bat. We have 3 different experimental whiskeys is what we call them. We make them completely from scratch in our distillery. We have started with a 1-year aged sugar bush whiskey, which is aged in casks that used to have maple syrup in them. And that is a total cult classic. People are such fans of sugar bush. Once it's on sale, it's gone immediately, which is one of the reasons I never bring it along, because it's hard to keep in stock.
Yeah.
And then we have a 2-year aged Northern Courage Smoky Rye whiskey.
Oh, I love rye whiskey. Is probably my absolute favorite of all the whiskeys.
Nice. We joke that the South has their comfort and the North has its courage.
And what's that called again?
Northern Courage Smoky Rye.
Northern Courage. Oh, I got it. Okay, I'm dense. I get it. I love that.
We're a fan of puns.
Okay, and what's the third one?
The third that we made is a Iron Range single malt whiskey.
So it's a Minnesota single malt.
It is.
So we've got some Oregon single malts going on. I love the whole single malt thing that's happening. It's fantastic. Okay, but you didn't bring any of those for me.
I did not, no.
But you brought this one that is like, I'm kind of excited to taste it. I'm kind of scared to taste it. It's kind of blowing my mind because everything else has been amazing. I know this is going to be phenomenal. But if I'd just seen this on the shelf, I might be like, is this is either really, really good or really, really bad? Some kind of like Dr. Frankenstein made this. So I'm going to read what it says on the front, and then I'll taste it, and you can explain it to people.
Okay.
This is just, I'm really captivated by this. Okay, so Hay and Sunshine, a meticulous mixture of bourbon, rye, and scotch. And then you age it in cognac barrels. The cognac, rye, bourbon, scotch all together. Oh, I don't even know how to prepare my mouth for this. Okay, I'll tell me about the name.
Yeah, on our brand, Hay and Sunshine, is based on the distillery that we're in used to be a wholesale grocer. Oh my gosh.
Wow. This is, okay, so I love rye whiskey, but sometimes when you drink a rye whiskey, you just get that bite or that bitterness.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that flavor, but I'm not always a fan of that bite. This has all that flavor, and it is so smooth.
Yeah.
This is a really dangerous whiskey. Oh my gosh, I think I could drink this all day long for an hour.
Yeah, blending whiskeys is a really awesome way to get the best parts of the difference and combine them and kind of mellow each other out, I suppose. But the bourbon, rye, scotch goes so well together, and Emily kind of dreamt up wanting to blend whiskeys to create new flavors, and then the first one wanted to evoke hay and sunshine. So when you're drinking that, that's what you should feel, that bright and earthiness. Again, the Honor brand, though, it's based on the name of the wholesale grocer's home brand and our distillery. And when we moved in, we kept finding all these Honor brand labels and advertisements, and their slogan was, "Honor brand is better." So when Emily wanted to make a blended whiskey, we shopped around some ideas and came back to Honor brand so that we could pull back that classic slogan.
Well, and, part of the reason this works for me, and I kind of already knew this fact I'm about to tell you, but at least fact in my opinion, but my fiancée Karen, her father, before he passed away, he was part of a winery. He founded a winery. Mm-hmm. And one of the things she learned from him is that a wine blend is where you really see the winemaker's talent, in her opinion, because, it's the grapes are what they are, but if you can blend something amazing, she loves tried winemakers blend. Mm-hmm. I think the same thing holds true with a really good, blended whiskey. You can okay. And this works. I mean, I've loved everything we had. This is the one that I'm having a really hard time, pouring another full pour instead of a sip and drinking more. This is absolutely phenomenal. It's fantastic. Okay, so I'm going to have to go to the store and order some of the hay and sunshine. I think I need the cedar gin, and I think I need the spruce gin, and I think I need the juniper gin. They're that good. I absolutely love it.
I support this decision.
Okay, so let's talk a little about Duluth, as long as you're here. Duluth is near and dear to my heart. It's the first place that I saw the Northern Lights.
Oh, yes.
I was just outside of town, headed to a little cabin on a little lake. There's a few lakes in Minnesota.
Oh, yeah, just a few.
And I was driving, and all of a sudden, it scared the crap out of me. It's like, is aliens coming? What's happening? And all this green and colors. And then I went, oh, that's the Northern Lights. We pulled over and watched them. It was the most amazing thing. Duluth is absolutely phenomenal.
It's a magic town.
Okay, so if you're in Duluth, people need, first, I'm going to advocate, people need to go to Duluth. If they go to Duluth, do you guys have a tasting room, or is there a place people can visit?
Yeah, we have a cocktail room. It's right connected to our distillery. You can sit in there, have a cocktail while you watch people distill, still, or bottle. And our cocktail room, which is cool about Minnesota state law, at first we thought of it as a problem, but, between constraints, that's where real creativity shines. We are obligated to make every single component that goes into our cocktails. So if you have quote unquote, I'm using air quotes, people can't see on a podcast, but if you make vermouth, it can't be a bottled vermouth you bought somewhere else. You have to make the vermouth. We make vermouth ourselves. We make fake Campari. We call faux pari. We're making all sorts of syrups and tonics and bitters in our own distillery that we can put into our cocktails. We're not selling any of those things except for in the cocktail form. But each season we come up with a new cocktail menu with about a dozen drinks. Emily Vikre is a part of that flavor making experience with other folks from our team, and they're amazing. Seriously, fantastic works of art.
Oh, that's okay. And I bet it's really cool inside.
Oh, beautiful, yeah.
Okay, and how about food? Do I get snacks or anything?
Yep, we have some really rad snack plates. There's a couple, but in Canal Park, which is where we're based, right next to the ubiquitous Duluth Lift Bridge, you can find a ton of awesome restaurants as well.
Okay. So someone goes to Duluth, a lot of outdoor stuff. People, big time outdoors. Camping is not really, I'm built more for the Four Seasons than camping, but if someone's going to go to Duluth, they can find all kinds of cool things about the outdoor stuff. They just Google that. But two things I would really encourage people to, even if they're not big outdoors fans, if they are, even better, but just drive 40 minutes just out of town and Gooseberry Falls State Park and Split Rock Lighthouse State Park. I'm sure you've been to both.
Yeah, beautiful.
There's the phenomenal. Okay, and what's the park right there in town?
In town, I mean, there's a bunch, but Park Point is right next to our distillery. It's across the lift bridge, and it's one of the longest freshwater sandbars in the country. I think it is the longest, actually. It's so beautiful. It doesn't seem like you're in northern Minnesota at all. It feels like coastal California.
And then, of course, one of the fun things you can do is if you're driving up along the Lake Superior, you got to stop at Betty's Pies. I'm sure you've been to Betty's Pies.
Oh, sure have.
I've done that. It's a phenomenal thing.
I brought some Betty's pies to my grandma Betty before.
Oh, that is adorable. Okay, so if I'm in town, I'm going to stop at the distillery. I'm going to have some cocktails, then head out for dinner. What are a couple places for dinner? 2 or 3 places for dinner you'd recommend?
Dinner joints. I'd say Martha's Daughter, if you're in town while they're open. It's a brand new restaurant. My friend Nanika started it. It's absolutely fantastic. And if you're willing to drive 20 minutes up the shore, the New Scenic Cafe is a amazing award-winning restaurant.
New Scenic.
New Scenic.
Okay. And then is there a third one?
If you were going to have lunch, I'd say the Northern Waters Smokehouse in the DeWitt Sites building in Canal Park is rad. Also, Lake Avenue Cafe is also adjacent to Northern Waters Smokehouse, and they're great for dinner and lunch.
Okay, and then I do love me some pizza. Tell me, is there a couple pizza places?
Pizza, yeah. Pizza Luce. It's a Minnesota company, and they have a spot in Duluth, and super fantastic. Or if you're willing to jump over the bridge to Superior, Wisconsin, there's
Oh, no, we can't go to Wisconsin. We hate those guys. We hate the Packers. I'm just kidding. If you live in Superior, we love you too. It's a fun thing to tease back and forth.
Oh, totally, yeah. There's some rivalries between Minnesota and Wisconsin in a lot of ways.
Okay, so I was distracted by the thought that you'd even dare suggest going across the bridge to Superior. But what's the place for pizza there?
Thirsty Pig, and it's a brewing company as well.
Thirsty Pig, and what kind of pizza do they do there?
They do deep dish, and it's really unique for the area. I really like Thirsty Pig.
Okay, fantastic. And, there may not be any of these. Are there perhaps any dive bars in Duluth?
Oh, sure are. We have our fair share of dive bars, but my all-time favorite is Curly's. Some people say it's a little too rough for them, but I love Curly's. I'm a regular.
Oh, I love me a good dive bar. I think it's fantastic. Okay, and since I love beer. Beer is near and dear to my heart. Yeah, how about a couple breweries?
Oh yeah, Duluth is known for its breweries. We have so many. A couple of my favorites are Bent Paddle Brewing Company. It's very close to Curly's, so you can just stop by the two same afternoon.
Fantastic.
And then again, Neighbor Superior has awesome stuff as well, and Earthrider Brewing Company is fantastic. So I'd recommend popping over there for that.
Okay, that's good. So have you ever played broom ball?
I haven't played broom ball, but a lot of Duluthians do.
I have played broom ball when I was in Duluth. So it's a crazy thing. People are like, what's broom ball? Just Google it. It's the coolest thing you'll ever see.
Yeah.
Okay, and you guys get, if I remember correctly in my geography, 42 feet of snow a year? Is that right?
Not exactly. We are known for our winters. It gets quite cold, and we do get a good amount of snow. But that lake, it throws a wrench into the weather. It's a warming agent in the wintertime and a cooling agent in the summer, kind of like a big body of 35 degrees constantly. And since the air gets to be negative 20, 35 does warm us up.
It does. And so Duluth in the spring is incredible. Duluth in the summer is beautiful. The fall is fantastic. Mm-hmm. But I think my favorite time to visit Duluth is in the summer. So if you're hearing this podcast, what are you talking about? No. Duluth in the summer, particularly, even the winter, particularly late winter when you've got all that ice on the lake.
It's majestic.
That is the perfect word. It's majestic, it's beautiful, it's crisp, it's cold, and all the bars stay open.
Yeah, we're still there all year. It is otherworldly, Duluth in the winter. It's fantastic. If you're brave enough, seriously come. It's really cool, and everything is still around. Yeah,
the people still live there. Mm-hmm. The restaurants are still open. You still have great pizza. You have great breweries. You have great tap rooms. You have great dive bars. It's all still there. Mm-hmm. You just don't have to deal with the idiot tourists.
Yep. Put some wool on and come visit us. There's even a skywalk in downtown Duluth, so you don't have to go outside too often.
But that's part of the fun.
It totally is.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast. You have done a fantastic job, Abigail, representing your brand and telling us about this amazing stuff.
Thanks.
I'm so glad that we can get it right here in Portland. We can go into our Portland liquor store and say, I want some hay and sunshine.
Yes.
I'm going to make hay while the sun shines and drink hay and sunshine while I do it.
Perfect.
All right. Wish you all the best. And so some of those people, so if I ever get back out to Duluth, maybe you can hook me up with some new podcasts out there.
Oh, totally. Yeah. They're all amazing people. Duluth breeds good ones.
They do. And I want to meet the Vikres. They sound just like amazing human beings.
They are. So kind, so smart.
And Cozy, right? Koozie? Scoozy. Yeah. I gotta meet me some Scoozy. I bet he's a character.
Scoozy's so great. And people know him all over the place. He's won some competitions.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah. All right. Well, enjoy the rest of your time here in Portland, and I will hopefully see you next in Duluth. Cheers.
Thanks. Cheers.